here with my co-founder, Ian, and today we'll be introducing Airlex, the first smart therapeutics barometer. So this patient, Deb, just got a total knee replacement, and after her procedure, she'll be given a therapeutics barometer, like the one in the picture, to do breathing exercises to keep her lungs healthy. If she's like most patients, she might do it right when a nurse bugs her, but not much besides that. And what she doesn't realize is that by not doing these exercises, she's putting herself at greater risk for pneumonia. So even though Deb's surgery was in her legs, she's still at risk for pneumonia because of the anesthesia and the inactivity. What happens if Deb gets pneumonia? Instead of being in the hospital for 3 days, she's going to be in the ICU for another 5 days and have a 20% chance of dying. What happens for the hospital if Deb gets pneumonia? Instead of making a small amount on Deb's procedure, they'll be taking a huge loss because insurance won't pay for the complication. The hospital could also suffer additional penalties from Medicare, and it could affect their accreditation. Deb isn't alone in this. Every year, there are more than 1 million patients who develop complications after inpatient surgeries. And if patients simply completed more of these breathing exercises, they could prevent 1 out of every 3 of these complications. To aid in this, Airlex is developing a smart digital therapeutics barometer to improve patient adherence and allow providers to monitor the patient's exercises. It's easy for the patients to use. They simply breathe in through the device like they would with the traditional one and follow prompts either on the app or on the device itself with the screen and speaker. So let's take a look at the reasons Deb didn't do her exercises. She was confused by them, she would simply forget to do them sometimes, and she didn't have the motivation to do the repetitive exercises without anyone watching. Airlex brings up these adherence by addressing these barriers. We guide Deb through the exercises, ding and remind her to complete them, and we allow the nurse to track her progress, providing another sense of accountability. We're the only device on the market that provides these therapeutic exercises. They're digital diagnostics barometers that can measure your exhales, but they can't guide you through inspiratory exercises after surgery. And they're consumer breathing trainers that offer resistance-based exercises to help make your lungs stronger, but they don't pop your alveoli open back after surgery. We're the only device that offers these guided deep breathing exercises to help the patients after surgery. A large hospital system like PenMed could save $25 million a year by spending $5 million on Airlex. Based on our use case assumptions, there could be up to 50,000 patients per year at a hospital like Penn using a device like this. This means that they could be spending over $120 million treating complications, and if we can reduce those by 22%, they could have $25 million in direct savings. So, spending $5 million on Airlex would net them $20 million in direct savings. We plan on entering the market through indications that are most susceptible to post-op complications. Within general post-op, which is 20 million patients per year, these would be thoracic, abdominal, and trauma surgeries that involve incisions to the chest. Once we gain clinical validation here, we could potentially expand to millions of other patients in the US with damaged lungs. To reach this market, we'll follow a known and achievable regulatory pathway through 510(k). So we'd be a class 2 low-risk medical device, so no clinical trial, just benchtop performance standards, where we show substantial equivalence to the predicate device, which would be the regular standard of care device. We have a great team of bioengineers from Penn with a diverse set of business experiences that will allow us to tackle this opportunity. We also have a great team of advisors, both in and out of Penn, that have been helping us along the way. So far, we've built a prototype using resources from a variety of organizations that have been helping us to make it easy to use and ready for our clinical partnership with Penn's thoracic surgery unit this summer. So we'll be testing our device in 30 lung resection patients, seeing if it gets them to do more of these breathing exercises, and then also taking a look at early clinical indicators. We're currently raising $250,000 to help us develop our prototype after the pilot. With our current funding, we'll be submitting our IRB, building the devices for the pilot, and then publishing our study. And then with the next round of funding, we want to revise the prototype, submit a pre-submission to the FDA, and then get a revised prototype ready for a bigger trial. To summarize, Airlex is a 21st century therapeutics barometer that improves the patient adherence, patient experience, and also saves time and money for providers and hospital systems. We're raising $250,000 to catalyze our development afterwards the pilot. Thank you for listening, and I'm happy to take any questions.
story that you involved at the beginning. I found it visually appealing, and the use of charts. It just felt very humanizing in terms of how you went through the problem and the solution, and your next steps for the next couple of years seem adequate. We've met before, so I'm familiar with this project. I wanted to know if I missed if you mentioned the incidence of, like the incidence by which you would need this device for the 3 targeted indications chosen.
You want to talk about that? Okay. So I briefly mentioned that there are over 1 million of these complications every year, and there are approximately 20 million inpatient surgeries every year. So overall, it's around a 5% incidence. When you look at specific surgeries that involve, chest incisions or like a rib fracture, like the ones mentioned, thoracic, abdominal, and trauma, those can have up to 20%, 30% incidence of pneumonia because they leave the chest area so long. So for some surgeries, it's closer to like 1 or 2%, but for some surgeries, it's up to 20 or 30%, and that's kind of our go-to market. We'd be looking at those higher risk ones first.
That's sort of a great presentation. I think the area that you're choosing to focus on is important. So I've had, several elderly family members, so I've been ahead and it sounds promising. So one of my questions is about the $5 million. Is that a one-time upfront fee and that's it, or is this a subscription where every year they have to subscribe again? Or?
So currently how our pricing works is we're estimating based on the incidence rate and based on the amount of complications can produce that for a patient, the hospital would be saving on average around $500 per patient. And we're priced at 20% of that at $100 flat, and there's strict nothing to capture that, so the hospital can capture that savings of 80%. So currently how our pricing works is 1 device per patient. They use it at the hospital, they take it home and use it for 2 weeks afterwards, and that's it. There's no, it's simple and easy, and that's how we're planning for it right now. Obviously, we are collecting a lot of data, and there's potential for future use of using this data to generate risk profile of patients to predict early onset of complications, and that is something we're currently looking to kind of scope and plan out, and how that kind of be an additional service to have.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Very nicely done, Josh and Deanna. I have a question on your team. Are all of you full-time?
Yes. Short answer, both of us are working on this full-time right now. We both just graduated from Penn in May, and this is it for us.
Sorry, and the 3 other members of our team, 2 of them are in consulting jobs right now, and we're planning, when we raise, we're planning to transition both of them to full-time, and one of our members is going next year.
And who do you think is one of the biggest competitors?
So, kind of a lame answer, but I think the greatest competitor is the standard of care. It's a $2 piece of plastic that's very widely used in hospitals currently. So when we're trying to sell this to hospitals, we need to make the argument that by investing in this, it is going to be more expensive, but they're going to be saving money in the long term. So the rationale is that they're spending more on this device, but it's hopefully reducing their complication rate. And like we had in the slides, if someone gets pneumonia, that can cost the hospital $25,000. So even if we're reducing that a small percent, that can make an impact.
And is it going to be reusable?
So are you thinking of, so from a design standpoint, is there maybe the mouthpiece that goes in, it can be replaced, but otherwise the spirometer itself could be reused, so you're thinking about it from a usability standpoint?
Yeah, that's a good question. So currently our device is designed in a way that this entire front part is removable. So this includes both nostrils and some the airway tubes that people breathe in, and a couple of sensors hours, like the majority of the electronics would be something that's reusable, but we're envisioning, instead of like the hospital managing the reusability of this device and having to like pass it between patients would take it home with them. They would like send it directly to us or send it back to the hospital would send it to us. We would kind of like refurbish these devices. So it's really easy for the hospital manage. They don't have to do like calibration, they don't have to do maintenance, like we would be here.
Since the value of the product is seen as the cost savings to hospitals, how many people within a hospital setting have you gotten to interview about whether that value proposition is valid in their world?
Yeah, so like the question was how many people have we interviewed so far? Yeah, so we've spoken to around 30 doctors about the clinical value proposition, around 24 nurses, and then 15 people who work in like value analysis and purchasing to validate the different aspects of the value proposition. Because for the doctors, it's the data and better outcomes for their patient. For the nurses, it's the fact that this manages the incentive spirometry instead of the nurse having to go in and bundle. And then for the value analysis, they want to see the improvements in readmissions, complications, and length of stay. And, we've had to validate the 3 different populations.
Yeah.
Just to add, Jonathan, your background on that, we're just looking at 8 different hospital systems, and the value analysis strongly suggests that if we even reduce length of stay by a quarter of the day, this would be good.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm I'm the founder and CEO of Sahay AI, a robotics and AI company making inspections quicker and smarter. Over the past 7 years, I've been around the world working on different kinds of robotic systems, from self-driving cars to drones. Being deep in the space, it was interesting to find out that there were a lot of inefficiencies and frequent accidents that were happening in the railway sector. So, before I start, quick question for you guys. How many of you wondered why our trains are like super expensive to book and like often delayed? The answer to that lies in this $100 billion industry still using visual and manual inspection methods where people have to walk on the tracks. And this causes frequent delays, derailments, and yearly operation costs of up to $1 million, which trickle down to the end user, which is you and I. So why do we need smart inspections, and why rail in particular? Despite significant advancements over AI and robotics over the past years, our rail has often been neglected. So presently, more than 90% of these inspections are basically where these inspectors have to walk on the tracks and find out faults here and there. So let's take an example of our inspector Larry. Larry sets out each day to inspect his territory of 10 to 60 miles of track. He has to do this mandatorily 2 times in his 5-day work week. Now this seems like a very easy task, but it becomes difficult because he can only do it when the trains are not in operation or at night. Now, this obviously increases the cost and cognitive overload, and Larry ends up missing 65% of the faults that he was supposed to detect. Pretty bad. So moving on, now complicated assets like tunnels, overhead wires, bridges are even more difficult, and basically Larry spends 70% of his time searching for faults here and there. So we sat down with inspectors, engineers, stakeholders in this space to understand what their specific pain points were. We found out that there was a data logging problem. There was a track downtime issue where the trains were being used and inspectors couldn't inspect them. There were defects that were being missed, and finally there was a database that was missing which had the collection of all these defects. So we created a complete inspection tool centered around RLARI, which stands for Locomotive Asset Reliability Expert. We 10x the speed of these inspections at 1/10 the cost. So our business strategy, our go-to-market strategy is divided into 2 phases. In the collection phase, we give our app in the hands of these inspectors, where they can use this app to walk along the tracks, record data, and then also create work and ticketing orders. Finally, after 6 months of collecting that data, we put that data into Larry, where we can train our own custom AI to detect faults like missing boards, broken rail, overgrowth vegetation, and 34 more. So again, the flow of the process is same as Larry collects information from a revenue train and displays it on our dashboard. Our business model follows the similar guidelines. We have the collection phase and the automated phase. In the collection phase, we have we hand out these apps to our inspectors at $199 a month. These rail companies use these apps to increase transparency across the organization. In the automated phase, we charge a data uplink commission of $29 per mile run for the robot. Here, Larry is supposed to be mounted on a train as it goes and collects data. By the way, these rail companies end up spending $1.5 million per track per year on inspections. So, market opportunity. Following a bottoms-up approach, we found out that we could divide the entire market size based on revenue routes. Here, a revenue route means where we have Larry on board. Moving on, we start with subways, which are the closest and easiest customers to target. We move on to public, freight, and then finally to global rail, which is the top 50 friendly nations. Here are some of the names that you guys must have seen, especially Pennovation Center. We're currently in active talks with SEPTA, MTA, and MBDA to pilot test our MVP. We've also had a couple of board meetings, and they're really excited. We are proud innovators in this space. We have AI capabilities, unlimited data logging, but most importantly, we have Larry, which can be mounted on any train. Conventional to any other competitors, we offer a technology that can be moved to any train without any significant problems. The team. So we are experienced individuals. We have people from industry, research, and tons of building experience. We are currently 5 strong, and we are all focused on infrastructure safety. Since our inception in October 23, we have made countless conversations with key stakeholders. We have built relationships with them and are in key talks again. We've completed our MVP in a record 4 months and are looking forward to multiple demos and doing pilot conversations with our customers. Finally, we've learned that public sales sector cycles are long and we need multiple champions to grow and succeed. Thus, we ask for your help. We're looking for connections and government close to people in the rail, specifically private companies like CSX. We're also looking for further avenues where we could use Larry's inspection technology. We're currently exploring parks and recreation and trash management. Finally, we're looking for a co-founder or individuals who are interested in developing and selling it to the government and are hungry individuals who can help us navigate this bureaucratic space. So finally, I would like to welcome you all to get on board Sahay Express Train to Safety. Thank you so much.
Awesome job. Thanks for looking into, a huge problem that's affecting America. Our infrastructure is always, in the forefront for a lot of folks, but the solutions aren't there. So I'm glad you're bringing us into the new era of technology to address this. One of the questions I had is about liability. So if this particular tool is used and there's an incident, have you thought about what that means from a liability standpoint?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and that's something that we've been struggling with and were struggling with in the initial sector. So what we found out that all the detections that we're going to do so initially for the first 6 months we collect data for that specific rail organization. So let's assume we have SEPTA. We collect SEPTA's data, and SEPTA usually goes with 3 pain points, which are engine burns, rust formation, because they have a lot of tunnels and stuff. So we pinpoint on those specific problems and collect data for that. We also have another inspector as a consultant who makes sure that all of these data types are relevant. Now we not only collect the specific data where detections are being made, we collect the entire data set. So the inspector also has a job of sitting, it's much better than actively going onto the field 50 miles of Philadelphia. They can just stay in their laptops and find out specific faults on those fields. So that kind of ties into liability where we offer our tool as an inspection tool rather than completely replacing them. We are giving them so that they can reduce their inspection time by 1.
definitely on board. It is fantastic. So I have two questions. So the first question that I have is, what are all the underpinnings of the technology? This is not just AI. There must be an element of IoT involved in this. So could you very succinctly lay out what the underpinnings of the technology?
Certainly, and thank you so much for asking that. So currently, I'm also gonna go to the next slide. Yeah. So as you can see, we have multiple sectors in this specific area. We want to collect the data from these inspectors, so that's why we built the app. For the specific case of our robot, which is called Larry is basically mounted on the back of a train so that it can collect data as the train is moving forward. We do not put it in the front because there are chances of collision as we talk with inspectors. So in this case, we have three different kinds of technologies. First, we have the sensor suite. The sensor suite needs to collect data at really high frequency, and it also needs to process that so that this data is not corrupted. Because like if you're going at 100 miles an hour, we want this data to be absolutely pristine so that there is no jitter or noise in that. Second, we need to upload all of that data. So coming back to your point of IoT, we need to upload this data continuously to the cloud. Now, to upload it to the cloud, we developed a very nice solution where we have a Wi-Fi connection to, like an IoT connection to this robot at every junction of the train stations. So for example, if we start from, say, the 69 Transportation Center to the Frankfurt Transportation Center, we have different sections, and we talked to SEPTA that they do have Wi-Fi connections in all of their stations. So we can tap into those connections, and the way it works is like the train is going to go from point A to point B. It's going to record all of that data once a day, and it's going to keep uploading through multiple runs throughout the day. So we don't even need any other external IoT devices to connect and upload that data. We tap into SEPTA's network and we upload that data to us. And the final thing is the dashboard, where all of this information is continuously being uploaded and segmented. So we do two types of AI. We do an AI which is on the robot, which is Larry, and the other one is on the cloud. So the specific one happens on the cloud, and the particular, like the general findings, like if there is rust formation, because those models are widely available in the cloud. So we do that on edge, basically on that.
When you asked for connections,
Yeah.
but you didn't ask for funding. Did I understand? Or?
No, you're absolutely right. So we did get funded initially in October 23 when we started the company. And basically we've been bootstrapping and using that funding to develop the entire MVP and get on team members and have advisors. So currently we don't need funding. We are actively searching for pilot contracts and connections to people so that we can further our technology. That's our aim. We want to spread the word, and we want to do demos and pilot contracts with these companies, and then we can explore for a potential fund.
Just a suggestion, not a question. You should think about an alliance strategy, okay, in order to scale this. So we'll talk offline.
Yeah,
on this
definitely.
ideas. Okay.
I think we were on the same wavelength because number one, I was going to ask about how much funding do you think you would need to take this to market. It seems like you're like, we're good for now. So, but did you have any thoughts on that before I ask the second question?
Yeah, definitely. So we did some projections, and we found out like how much we're going to be able to spend to get to market for all of these or for all of our business models. So like. Anyway, so this is the slide I was trying to go for. The total revenue we're expecting with SEPTA and MTA is going to be 9 million, and that's what we're targeting for the end of 25. So to get to that specific revenue, we would be needing around $500,000 to invest in team, as well as to invest in the prototype. Like we have developed the prototype, but it's not like an industry-grade prototype as of now. So that's what would be the funding that we would be needing.
So hence the person you need to now start earning government grants.
Yes.
Okay. My second question was along the line of alliances, and it still feels like regulation is unclear about the ways that AI can be used. I wonder if you are seeing any potential risks or ways that you need to pivot your technology ahead of whatever the regulations might turn out to be.
That's a great question. So it kind of dials back into how self-driving is being perceived all around the world, where we have, say, if they have a crash, the entire company comes crashing down. So we try to offer our technology as an inspection tool rather than completely replacing these inspectors, because to be honest, they are required. Like, we cannot replace them completely, and that there's no reason to. So we want to have kind of an alliance, is what I would go for, where we have these organizations and we tap into their technology. Currently, they're using paper-driven technology, so not so much. But we tap into their resources. We get their inspectors on board. We use that technology and we give our dashboard to them so that they can, do these inspections faster and better. And from a regulation standpoint, there's obviously going to be pushback for AI. But I think it's only a matter of how much data set we can collect. That's also one of our value props, where we are the only people who are collecting this kind of data set as of now. So yeah, that's basically stands us out from any of the competitors in this space.
Thank you. That was fantastic. We'll go on to the next presentation.
Thank you so much.
How many of you know that mice don't like to breathe when they get stressed out? Or that gene therapy cells die when exposed to too much vibration? Or that even very low levels of vibration can corrupt images of scanning electron microscopes? The challenge is the problems that cause all these problems are outside of human perception. So nobody even knows that they're happening. I'm Felicia Doggett, and I'd like to introduce you to Senso, the technology made specifically to monitor and identify vibration, audible sound, and ultrasonic sound in laboratories. Senso is a spin-out company from Metropolitan Acoustics, of which I am the founder and CEO of. Metropolitan Acoustics is a 30-plus year consulting company specializing in vibration and acoustics, based right here in Philadelphia. About 6 years ago, we started getting calls from clients describing these very same problems in their laboratories. So as we were investigating, we found some of the sources include construction, both inside and outside buildings, automatic door openers, vertical transport and loading docks, as well as exhaust fans and HVAC equipment. So we were looking into these problems for our clients, and we realized that there's no web-based platform that they can use 24/7 in their labs to identify these critical issues, thus empowering scientists to make faster decisions, minimize downtime, increase productivity, and the quality of their experiments. So we developed Senso, and we've had a working prototype now for the past 3 years. So Senso consists of hardware that resides in the labs, as well as a web-based software app. It alerts users when thresholds are exceeded, and it also, you can view historic data, as well as run reports of past performance. It's all part of the family of lab automation technology. Senso also aligns with the current NIH initiative. So on September 5th, we'll be resubmitting for an NIH grant that is specifically looking for, quote, technologies to monitor and identify extrinsic environmental factors in laboratories, including vibration and ultrasonic sound. The NIH has a big problem with reproducibility of experiments between different animal labs, and they feel it has something to do with the environmental factors. It also is very concerned with the health and well-being of laboratory animals. Our sales model includes revenue generated by both the initial installation of the equipment on the order of $2,000 to $10,000, depending on the application, as well as a monthly service fee to use the software portal of about $500 per month, and this is all per lab. So the larger companies We can give them a modular and scalable business solution that fits their needs in the form of an enterprise software package. So according to the CBRE research of the Life Science Laboratory and R&D inventory, there was 182 million square feet of that space in 2022. So assuming each lab is 3,000 square feet and an average installation of $12,000 per year, that gives us a total addressable market of $727 million. Assuming that we're only going to be installing in about 20% of those labs, because not every lab will need this monitor, that gives us a serviceable available market of $145 million, and assuming 50% of that is the customers that we can get, that gives us serviceable obtainable market of $73 million. To date, Center has been bootstrapped by Metropolitan Acoustics, and we've also generated over $250,000 from the use of our prototype over the last 3 years. We are also the proud recipients of a $50,000 grant from the JVS Fund for Women. We are seeking an investment of $450,000 so that we can hire a general manager, a software developer, and more contract labor to build our technology and scale up so that we can build our client base. I'm Felicia Doggett, the entrepreneurial lead. This is Julian Plotnick, our technical lead, and we are the Sensive team. Thank you for listening to our pitch about Sensive, technology supporting the quest for peak research performance.
So thanks for that. Being the managing director here at Pennovation Works with a bunch of research facilities that have vibration from time to time, this is interesting. So one of my questions is about how Sensitive participates in the solution side. So after it's detected or you're out of peak range, what do you do about that, or is it up to the researchers to remediate that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it'll monitor, identify, and if they continue to have problems, they can call Metropolitan Acoustics, which is our parent company, and we can come in, and help them fix their problems. We're engineers, so we fix things for them. In addition, in Sensitive 2.0, we want to include AI so that we can actually, possibly say hey, that's a door slamming, or that's your HVAC equipment, and actually literally inform them of what sources are causing their problems.
Hello, it's nice to see you both again. I really loved, let me start with the things I love. I really love the founder story where you not only talk about your extensive experience in the space, but also how your clients really brought forward the problem that you are hoping to solve. I do think it could have potential, and you have shown data before that how it could have potential impact on the replicability of research. My question was, do you think, how do you see the trends in key opinion leadership in the area? Because it seems like something that could be, what are you doing to spread the message of it? I'm not sure how aware people are that this is a problem that needs to be solved, or what has your experience been trying to spread the gospel and other people's reactions to what you're trying to say about the problem and your solution bringing forward?
Yeah, so we have been doing networking, things like that. For the most part, the clients that we're serving right now are the people that are bringing the problems to us. So we haven't been really spreading the gospel yet. We're still waiting to try it, to hire another person or two to be able to scale up the whole platform. But in addition to that, I think that the NIH is going to be very helpful to us in spreading this, the ability of this problem for us to install these devices. This is a really hot topic for them. They actually had a whole workshop last fall where I think 300 to 500 500 researchers attended on this problem of reproducibility and the environmental factors in labs. So they're actually spreading the word for us.
Have you thought about, because this, in addition to just the research angle, it's also like an animal welfare angle. Have you explored more in that area?
Yeah, so there's an organization called the 3 R's of animal research, and that's, do you remember what it stands for? Well, whatever. So there's 3 R's, and it all has to do with about like the health and well-being of laboratory animals. And that's a whole other organization, yeah, that we want to approach. There's actually like in the big companies, the big pharmaceuticals and CROs, they have like a director of the 3 R's. So we want to, that's another organization we want to approach, yeah. So we had a chance to talk, so I feel I know your company a little better than what you just pitched. I do have 2 questions for you. How are you going to scale this? And what is scale for you? How should we as judges look at what sensitive would be in 2 years' time? So how are we going to scale? We are going to, we want to, first of all, build the platform more so that we can add users. Do you want to answer some of the technical questions about scaling?
I feel like that's more of
Okay, sure. Yeah, so we want to use the platform, build it up, and make sure. I mean, the platform's up in AWS, so it would be easy to scale. But one of the challenges we're having right now is just identifying and connecting sensors, like a whole bunch of different sensors to AWS. But that is certainly a challenge that is easily overcome. So we're not worried about that. We just need a couple more technical people. And then to answer your other question about selling, we do want to partner with companies that are already in the lab, selling like complementary. We talked to several of them already, like Aries Scientific is one, and they're in the labs, and they're very interested in selling this to their customers, because then they would get a cut of the revenue too. So that's an easier way to get into the labs, to partner with those companies that are already in the labs.
I love the fact that you do have a consulting organization, because this is going to require consultative sale. So, and from a remediation standpoint, that's where your consulting company comes in. How are you splitting your personal time? I mean, how much of your time is going into consulting and how much of it is going into sensitive?
Yeah, well, that's why part of the funding that we want to spend is on a general manager for sensitive, so I'm not split, between the 2 companies. So that's part of the ask. I mean, like I told you, I'm just an engineer. I just solve problems. I think somebody else is probably better suited to, be a general manager of sensitive.
So thank you, and we'll move on to our next speaker.
What if we could equip all people, what's wrong? Oh, the slide. What if we could equip all people with the resources and tools that they need to manage their mental health right from their own homes? And that is the vision of Pennovation, which means taking care of myself. I'm Carmen Alvarez, family nurse practitioner, midwife, and developer of Pennovation. So 21 million people in the United States approximately are suffering with depression and anxiety symptoms, many of whom will never find the help that works for them. And this is particularly the case for very low-income Latinas, 1 in 3 of whom experience depression and anxiety symptoms. And at every turn experience a multitude of barriers, including lack of Spanish-speaking providers, lack of culturally appropriate services, and lack of services that focus on skill development, or the skills that are needed to manage depression and anxiety, which is often chronic in this population. So we developed Pennovation, which is a problem-solving based self-management program designed specifically for Latinos with depression tailored in that it was developed with and by Latinas. It focuses on the skill building for symptom management. The group format decreases stigma, builds community, and provides a safe space for shared experiences. And this was the most favorite feature of our program. It can be delivered by a trained facilitator rather than licensed personnel, making it more feasible and accessible. Women who participated in our program experienced clinically significant reduction in their depression and anxiety symptoms by the end of our program. When we piloted our program, we hosted it on Zoom and mailed our workbooks to our participants and the facilitator guide to the facilitator. So not a very sustainable model. So this is what we hope to achieve with digitized Unlimited. This is going to be, we're hoping, a platform where the facilitator will have all program content. They'll be able to follow the progress of their participants and reminders all in one platform. And the software will gather all key components of the therapy and import it into the EMR for more accurate documentation and billing purposes. For the participant, we will have more interactive content for an enhanced user experience. Unlimited would offer a collection of features that is not yet available for our target population. So, culturally appropriate service, live group support, and interfacing with the EMR to simplify documentation purposes for billing. We are going to target federally qualified health centers. There are 1,400 FQHCs across the United States, serving approximately 11 million Latinos, 50% of whom are women. And our program is ideal for helping FQHCs expand their reach and services to Latino communities. Here in Philadelphia, Latino serving clinics report an urgent need for mental health support, and we have partnered with several community health clinics to help inform the development of our program. The success of Unlimited hinges on a very passionate and experienced team. We have a multidisciplinary team that we established 6 years ago, including clinical psychologists, community experts, and more recently, technology innovators to help build and also scale our program. We are asking for $70,000. With $70,000, we can realize Unlimited closer to within a year time frame rather than over multiple years. With these funds, we will support the development team, technology and infrastructure, quality assurance, and our subscription fee will still allow FQHCs to obtain revenue because group therapy is a billable service. So in sum, the mental health crisis among the Latino population is real and growing. Unlimited offers a culturally acceptable and accessible solution, but it can't be realized without going digital. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I always love women and children as a space of development. I thought it was wonderfully thoughtful, and very attuned to patient needs. My question is, where would this be deployed? Like, what type of sites specifically were you thinking?
So right now, sites other than FQHCs, or other than the federally qualified health centers, so we'll be targeting.
I didn't know that. Sorry, I didn't understand.
So these are community health centers that have a mandate to serve underserved and marginalized populations. And a number of them have predominantly Latino-served populations, particularly groups that prefer to receive services in Spanish. And so these are the markets that we would target. So there's several here in Philadelphia, and then other cities that have Spanish-speaking enclaves, if you will. So some sites in New York, Boston, Florida, California.
So then my follow-up question is something we asked the other two, which is, what does scalability look like to you, and what do you want it to be?
Yeah, so I would like it to be nationally available. I think in 5 years, if we have a good 5 or 6 clinics utilizing our program, that would be a huge success.
Great focus. Two specific questions. Do you really feel comfortable just raising $78,000? Could you do a lot more if you raise more? Stop me from raising more.
What is stopping me from raising more? I think I'm taking baby steps. I think we could do a lot more with more funding, particularly around designing the training program that we're going to need. That's the other part of this. Yes, we have the platform. We also have the community health workers who are the intended deliverers of the program. So they will also need standardized training and guidance, if you will. So we could use a lot more money to support the expert trainers that we're going to need to facilitate the scaling of the program. So I appreciate the encouragement. I can keep going.
No, I'd really like you to rethink that, right? The other dimension to think about this is how are you going to find qualified facilitators? You're going to train them. But how do you make them stick, right? Otherwise, your churn in facilitation could be very large. And when you have a high churn, customers feel the churn and don't stick by your platform. So how are you going to overcome that?
That's a great question and one that we're going to have to continue to think through. But I would make the argument that this program in and of itself is a professional development of sorts for a lot of community health workers. It's a program that would equip them to do that much more within their organization. A lot of times where we see the churn with community health workers specifically is because of lack of advancement within their organization and lack of opportunity for them. So this, in a way, is a tool that can allow them to do that much more within their organization, and they can take it and offer the program within their own community. So not necessarily being confined to what they can do within their workplace.
But thank you.
Okay, I'm about to get the end of the presentation signed, so just briefly, is this something that only organizations can buy into, or can it be independent contractors? Kind of like, I don't want to minimize it, but like Zumba and Avon, where people take on an entrepreneurial approach and get this license and then they can deliver it and still be billed or whatever through the organization.
I think eventually we can see that happen. I was speaking with my mentor for this program, and she was asking, well, does it even have to be an FQHC? Could it be a community-based organization that offers non-medical services, for example? And I think that can definitely be the case. I think this is a starting point. Community health centers are a protected space, if you will, where we can start with our dissemination and then go from there.
Well, thank you. And we'll go on to the next.
Our society has long portrayed menopause as something to fear, a sign of aging and decline. But did you know women spend about 40% of their lives navigating this profound transition? Hi, I'm Jessica Lynn, and along with my co-founder, Jacqueline Aquino, we are WELL, and we are on a mission to redefine the menopause journey. Menopause and perimenopause are natural stages that women go through in their mid-30s to late 50s, yet it's often stigmatized and misunderstood. Women navigate challenging symptoms like hot flashes, brain fog, and sleep disturbances, yet the existing solutions rarely get to the root cause of this problem, hormonal imbalance. At WELM, we're on a mission to change this narrative. Our convenient at-home hormone test kit and intuitive app analyze your hormone levels to provide you with personalized nutrition recommendations. We also have a test kit, and we are selling the test kits for $360 for a 3-month subscription, which would include 3 of the kits. Women would begin with our urine-based hormone test, which has the integrated test strips to make for a hassle-free experience. The test conveniently folds into a funnel that allows for a mess-free experience, and after urinating on the test strip, you simply rip open the packaging and lay it flat on our included reading tray. After waiting 10 minutes, women would take our WELM app to scan the test and unlock data at their fingertips. After collecting quantitative hormone data, women use the app to unlock their insights and also track their symptoms. But WELM goes beyond just insights. WELM offers different things like curated recipes as well as educational resources to provide women the opportunity to learn more about their journey. At WELM, we believe that food is more than just nutrition. Food is a vehicle for women to connect with others and learn more about themselves. So they can do this through different food challenges as well as community chat rooms and different challenges that will allow them to get to know their bodies and their journey through menopause better. So the menopause and the personalized digital health markets are substantial and growing. Menopausal women will make up 25% of the US population by 2030, and there's a growing demand for personalized health solutions as well as holistic health approaches that address physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Our target market includes women in their 40s to 60s that are experiencing symptoms and also have disposable income. Of this population, we aim to capture 26%, and this is based off of those who are already actively seeking holistic care. Based on our subscription model, we estimate that the annual value per customer is $1,440, which amounts to a revenue potential of $3.4 billion. Our go-to-market strategy is two-pronged. So firstly, we'll be selling through partnerships with homeopathic clinics, and secondly, we will utilize influencer marketing and curated content on social media to drive direct sales to our e-commerce site. Through affiliate programs and building a community and education, we believe that we'll be able to foster long-term brand loyalty and increase customer retention. So you might be wondering why 2 Gen Z women are interested in menopause, and the truth is we grew up watching our grandmothers silently suffer through the struggles of menopause while our mothers became a bit more open to sharing and finding a community of support. We are deeply committed to challenging the status quo of women's health and believe that our insights as the new generation will drive the next wave of innovation within the menopause space. Today, we are asking for any connections to experts within the hormone and nutrition space for us to continue refining our approach and building that scientific credibility. Together, let's put women at the helm of their menopause journey. Thank you.
It's a very nice course that you're taking, Jessica. So, how do you
main goals is providing women with the autonomy. So with our at-home test kits, we are able to allow women to get this data at their fingertips. And what differentiates us from other similar tests that also may use urine and analyze their hormones is that we will be able to provide them with actionable steps afterwards. So understanding not only the data, but being able to do something with it beyond it.
Give us an example of the kind of data that would come out of the test.
Yeah, so our app would be able to allow you to track the different symptoms that you are having. So just being able to recognize what things are going on in your body and at what points, especially with the nutrition, different things that you eat. Your hormones are changing every single day. That this app would allow women to be able to track that and understand through the different graphs and also insights, but even maybe a journal component that would allow them to go in and track how they're feeling, and not just like emotionally, but also physically.
Thank you.
So I echo her statements that this is a great area to be in. There's a lot of women mindset than there have been in previous years. I guess my question circled around the end goal for this technology, whether it's planned as like a full-fledged company or an acquisitional property, because I see a potential, and it kind of reminds me of like Happy Mammoth and some of these period tracker like technologies and pregnancy technologies that also have educational content on it, which would be, they already have the platform and the audience and things like that. So what are you thinking in terms of the end goal for this technology?
Yeah, the end goal would definitely be a full-fledged company, and one other thing that we also wanted to lean into was partnerships, not only with the homeopathic clinics, but with other companies that also might be addressing this topic of menopause. So creating a space where women are able to learn more about menopause and have that curated educational content, but also go beyond and be able to tap into other resources that are happening within this space. Also, as a long-term goal, since there is a lot of data that is collected, we want to be a part of the larger narrative of research. So a lot of times the testing that is done, even for products that are specific for women, it's not all being done on women. So you're taking a lot of data from men as well. So using the data that we would collect here potentially to contribute to that larger narrative, of course, also respecting data privacy at the end of the day.
Can you take me back to your team meeting and where your expertise is that you're relying upon for some of what you're working on?
Yeah, so Jacqueline and I were undergrad students at Penn. We studied architecture and material science and then went into the product design program. So we're really focused on understanding what the problem is. So throughout this past year, as we've been working on this project, we've spoken to 30 plus women, as well as spoken to 15 and more experts within the field. So people who have backgrounds as doctors to help us understand hormone levels better, and the different resources that we would continue to look for in terms of building a board of directors and mentors would be people who are knowledgeable in the field of data science, so being able to help us build out that app, and especially those who are knowledgeable within nutrition and hormones and the menopause space, because that is definitely one thing that we feel like needs to happen in order for us to have credibility and that backing and understand more of how our test kit and the app would be able to provide the greatest support for women.
Okay, well, thanks for your time today, and we will move on to our next presenter.
Thank you.
ridiculous asymmetry in the electronics industry between the way that devices are manufactured and how they're disposed of at the end of their lives. So electronics, like laptops and computers, we're employing robots and automation, and it's sort of a surgical environment how we're piecing these devices together. Yet, these same devices, at the end of their lifetimes, when you or I give them to an e-waste recycling facility, or when UPenn or hospitals or banks dispose of them, they end up like this at such an e-waste recycling facility as a huge jumble of different electronics. And so the hard work at these e-waste recycling facilities becomes trying to parse through them, try to figure out which devices are valuable, which ones are worth trying to fix and refurbish and resell, versus which ones are not worth their time. They should just be shredded and trying to be separated through physical and chemical means. As you can imagine, this is a very, very time-consuming process that's also limited by the amount of skilled laborers they can find and the amount of labor capital that they can provide. Unfortunately, as a result of this, not all e-waste is actually processed at the facility. Large portions of that e-waste is shipped internationally, where labor costs are a lot lower, and they oftentimes, very frequently, end up being processed by child laborers, because of their smaller hands, their lower labor rates, and they're exposed to adverse health effects like lead poisoning and mercury poisoning. The World Health Organization estimates that 18 million children across the world are exposed to adverse health effects because of their exposure to e-waste. 18 million. We don't think that this is ethical. We have to come up with some kind of solution to help e-waste recycling facilities process their waste domestically. And so this is why Revised Robotics is working to envision the e-waste recycling facility of the future through robotics and automation. This has newly been enabled by advancements in computer vision and AI. We've started working on a computer vision prototype that can look at different devices and identify exactly what they are and push them straight into inventory, minimizing the amount of work that human labor actually has to provide. It also finds the condition things are in, the estimated cost by connecting to eBay, takes pictures of it, and directly posts it on marketplaces, minimizing the amount of work that e-waste recycling facilities have to actually do. We also want further iterations of the product to actually manipulate devices, try to turn them on, see if they hold charge, see if you can install a fresh set of windows. And that's why right now we're working on a robotic prototype for the same purpose. We're working on quality evaluations right now, but want to get into common repairs and full disassembly by 2026. That year and the following year, we're looking to partner with e-waste recycling facilities across the country. There are over 3,000 such facilities across the world, and over 750 of them are in the United States. As you can see, a lot of them are densely located in the Northeast, which is a large reason why we're choosing to be here in Philadelphia. We envision that in 2027, a partner facility with about 12,000 tons of annual e-waste, which is the size of a large e-waste recycling facility, would purchase 3 of our robotic systems to increase their profit by $4 million. I know I've painted a pretty ambitious picture, but we really think that we're the team that can get this done. Across our team, we have experience in operations, logistics, robotics, computer vision, PCB design. We have all the skills we need in our founder team. And so we're asking for introductions and mentorship to individuals in venture capital who can help us make this happen, as well as reverse logistics and demanufacturing. We're aiming to fundraise in January, so building relationships until then and trying to turn it around right after the holiday season. So yeah, we're trying to make it faster, easier, cheaper to process e-waste domestically. Thank you.
First of all, Jesus, you hit us with recycling, landfills, climate change, essential and back, and child labor, I just like, it was variable to that So what I'm understanding is that this is something that we like triage and sort. My first comment is maybe the product roadmap was a bit fast, insanely fast, in terms of getting everything potentially done by 2026, just because they seem very technical. It's very ambitious, maybe too ambitious. But then the second thing I wanted to ask was, how have you thought about what happens after your device is used to sort? How does it fit in with what happens to that technology next, and thus communicates the value of it beyond like the sorting that occurs?
Sure, I'll speak about the first point first, the technology development speed. And I think while it is crazy to imagine a facility having robots that sort devices, that disassemble devices, and even repair devices, we're already working on it. Like, we already have a computer vision system that can tell you what the devices are and can tell you how much they cost. And we are actually working on we don't make robots, we use robots that other people have designed to do some of these tasks already. That's what the question I work on, day in and day out. So I feel pretty confident that the recent advancements in the fields of robotics can get us there. But you are absolutely correct that it's going to be a huge undertaking as we get bigger and bigger.
Real quick, I think one of the things that gives us a lot of confidence is that we're using robots to build these laptops. And the real advancement is in computer vision and being able to plan how to actually do this backwards, and not really the hardware possibility itself.
Yeah, and to answer your second question, if you might need to. Oh yeah, what happens after sorting? So this kind of opens a kind of worms, which is the e-waste recycling world. So right now, the e-waste recycling world is very fractured. So there are people that do repairs. There are people that do only iPhone 10 and up repairs. There are people that shred every device that comes into their door. And I really believe that by being able to identify all these devices and sending them to the right places, we will be able to empower not just one facility, but multiple facilities to work together so that they can all use the stock that they need. And people want to fix these things. There is a lot more, frankly, money in fixing a MacBook Pro than just shredding it and getting a little bit of gold out of it.
Thanks for that. I have a question about I think you said it was over $4 million that the facilities could save or more profit. Can you talk to me a little bit about where that came from?
Yeah, that came through in-person site visits. So when we talked about a lot of these, we visited a lot of them. Somehow a lot of them were actually in the Midwest as well. And we saw how many people are actually working on the disassembly line around these conveyors. And we used the estimate of number of workers in such a large facility, got estimates of tonnage and things like that, and used local like labor rates and how much less labor we can use to provide the same benefit, and how many more laptops or devices can you process in a year because of our efficiency gain.
There's also one more point there, which is that if you repair and sell the devices that are worth a lot, you can extract a lot more value out of the same stuff. So if you become really, really good at identifying the right stuff to fix, you can really gain a lot. And what we propose with just the sorting and vision system is that you no longer need an expert that knows everything about every device to be able to tell what devices are worth it and which ones are not.
So, quick question. As someone who has tried to have her old television set recycled, it is a massive problem. There's no way to fix it, so I understand the problem of recycling e-waste. I love the fact that you have the alliances
off-the-shelf robot parts and bringing them all together in this unique combination. We are still pinning down the exact manifestation of this, so we'll be filing a provisional patent later this year.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing your vision with us. And do we have one more company, or would you head to innovation call?
Thank you.
So good afternoon. My name is Kat Gibson. I'm an Army veteran and a former commander, and I'm here with Dr. Hunter today to talk to you about Camo Care, serving the women who serve our nation by providing abortion access and resources for active duty personnel, and we are a non-profit organization. So I'd like to explain what a woman in the military goes through to access abortion care by introducing you to Allie. She's 19 years old, stationed in Central Texas, and makes about $800 a month. The quotes you're about to see come from my actual research on this topic. So first, Allie realizes that she's pregnant. She's required to see a military doctor, often male, so that she can go further in her care pipeline. She has to request permission to drive more than 50 miles from her military post from her boss, often disclosing a pregnancy. She has to figure out how to pay for the travel she needs to do and how she's going to get where she needs to go. She's left on her own to figure out how she's going to access abortion care. And when she gets back to base, she's likely to face stigma from both her unit and her leadership without proper protection. This is not how it's supposed to be. In the past 2 years, the military has passed several policies to protect women. The problem is a deliberate lack of knowledge. This is one of the few areas the DoD doesn't have mandatory training in. 69% of women didn't know they could get their military insurance to cover abortion care in cases of rape and incest. Almost 80% didn't know they did not need their boss's permission to get an abortion. 77% didn't know that they were entitled for convalescent leave, meaning they didn't have to take that PT test. And of those who did ask for time off, 87% were denied. And 1 in 4 report experiencing discrimination from their peers or their leadership when they come back to their unit. Our solution is Camo Care. It's a free platform that is not DoD affiliated, that will maximize user privacy and security, because 1 in 3 women in the military report being sexually assaulted. So sometimes it's their leadership who is causing this issue and stopping them from taking care of themselves. We'll offer clear guidelines on how to utilize policies in place and to help them access abortion care. We will also provide community support in a private and safe setting, because right now these conversations are happening in fragmented, closed areas on the internet. Our market fit, we're meeting an unmet need. The DoD sites sometimes have the correct, accurate policy information, and sometimes they don't. Makes me sad for the Army. Abortion resource sites have access to the resources, but don't help these women navigate the labyrinth of DoD policies if they're required to do so. Our website will fix that by providing easy access and resources and explanations to people who are scared and in panic mode. Our user base will include servicewomen, spouses, military leadership and healthcare professionals, for an approximately 6 million potential user base. Our target market are sponsors and donors. For $50 a month, we are able to pay for our server space. There's $1 trillion in annual revenue from military veteran-owned businesses, $16 billion from women veteran-owned businesses, and every year Americans donate $2.5 billion to military-focused nonprofits. So for $50 a month, we think that we can get people who align with our values, who will support our mission. Our launch strategy, we were kindly given $10,000 from the Pennovation Accelerator. That's allowed us to hire professionals to build a site with the security requirements that we need and to do digital marketing. We're also flexing our personal and professional relationships to spread word of mouth. Nothing about us without us. Ongoing community engagement involves research and talking to our friends and colleagues about this. We've interviewed over 200 people to design this website. Our asks, we need mentorship, introductions to experts in nonprofit organizations, and feedback on what businesses like you are looking for from nonprofits when we're asking for money or corporate sponsorship or corporate partnership. Our team, Holly, Keisha, and I, are just the medical faces. We're the public faces. Our real team are people I can't name because they're still on active duty, but they're from multiple branches, they're lawyers, healthcare professionals, and they all stand behind this effort. So thank you very much for your time today, and pending your questions, this concludes my briefing.
Outstanding. I think it's a great cause. And the fact that you want to do this truly as a service that is affordable for everybody. So that's really good. So talk to me a little bit more about your fundraising, because one of the biggest problems in a nonprofit is that you're always fundraising, okay? And how do you make your organization sustainable? Because you cannot do the service if you are continuing to fundraise. So sustainability is key. So help us understand how you will be sustainable.
Absolutely, great question. So the $10,000 allows us to do the biggest financial lift, which is basically just having somebody come in, set it up, make it pretty, meet the security requirements we have, because we don't have that ability. The volunteer work that's going in is writing policy updates and the medical stuff, because we're all women's healthcare professionals, we can write that part. We are being hosted on the school nursing server, which means that for $50 a month, we are going to be able to stay there for as long as we need. So the innovation money gets us the first year. We're currently in the process of working with a lawyer to be set up as a 501. We have a promised donation of $5,000 from an anonymous donor. And so when you divide 50 by 5,000, that at least gets us through year 2 to 3. So that gives us a 3-year runway to start fundraising. At that point, we'll be putting any donations we get into a certain account that is just for the website. Anything we get that's extra, we will be exploring. This is why we're looking for connections with nonprofit experts on how we can make sure we're growing that money at a sustainable clip to keep that $50 a month net. My personal hope is that in 5 years, we won't need this website anymore, because either the law will change or there will be alternative resources or changes to legislation, specifically the high end that have occurred. But because we are such a shoestring operation, thanks to our amazing volunteers, I feel that, within 3 years, we'll be able to fundraise enough to do a 10-year sustainability plan.
Good. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. That was very moving. I appreciated it being broken down in like Allie's story and the statistics you shared. I just wanted to say, I don't think I have a question at this time, but I really love the target market and how you broke down your competitors and where their gaps are and how they're not serving the population of interest. I really think that was the most powerful slide of this all, and I wish you success. I'm so happy that the Pennovation Accelerator is hosting you guys and providing. I love hearing about a 10-year sustainability plan. I hope you reach your goals.
Thank you. And even if the DoD were to decide to create a centralized website, which I hope they do because we'd love to be out of business, unfortunately, due to the legal restrictions they're under, they can't actually direct women directly to abortion resources. But hopefully someday they'll at least stand up and here's all of our policies in one place.
Okay, well, thanks for taking on such a huge challenge for such a worthy population. Any other questions from the judges? Okay, so thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Nick Ashburn and I am founder of WealthMind. And I'm on a mission to put money back in its place as a means to an end to support our overall well-being. Because let's face it, managing our own money is really hard and it's stressful. In fact, nearly 75% of American adults cite money as the number one stressor in their lives. It's a leading cause of conflict in relationships, and it often leads to divorce. And that stat, or all of those stats, actually hold up regardless of net worth. So, our colleagues down the road at Wharton would like us to believe that this should be easy. We're all rational economic actors. But behavioral science would tell us something differently. That the core attitudes and beliefs that we unconsciously have about money influence how we manage that and the financial decisions we make day to day. So, I have been a researcher and practitioner in investment management for 10 years, or a little bit longer than that actually, and I have a secret for you. The financial advice and planning side is increasingly commoditized due to automation. So, what value proposition does that leave the financial advice industry? Well, in my experience, it's the personal side of money management, the psychological piece that advisors, in my experience, are not particularly good at. So, I'd like to introduce you to WealthMind. It is a digital financial therapy platform that combines psychological insights and best practices in financial planning, combined with artificial intelligence and machine learning to provide behavioral analytics to allow advisors to get to know their clients on that personal level and create personalized financial plans that already account for the likely biases that their clients will bring to the table in financial conversations and their own decision making. Let's bring this to life. Let's introduce you to Mike and Kim. Mike is in his 40s, but actually he just graduated a couple of years ago from med school. And in his first year of residency, he decided to quit medicine. He's married to Kim, who's in her mid-30s. She's an MBA, she has worked in finance, and you can imagine that they're now facing significant questions around their financial future. And this area is also really ripe for conflict and tension in their relationship. So, their WealthMind journey started with a question as to how do we manage this moving forward? What are we going to do with that student debt? And so they started with our psychological questionnaires that focus on their strengths and values, as well as their financial schema. And the financial schema are what we call the core attitudes and beliefs that they bring to money. Their shared financial schema are financial control, financial dependence, and financial sacrifices. I'll come back to that. So, their question, again, was, should we sell our rental property in Austin, Texas, where they had significant equity, to pay off this medical student debt? Now, they were able to ask the question to our decision navigator, and we use a tightly scoped LLM to create alternative decision pathways for them, as well as the criteria that will help them go through this complex decision-making process. We break it down for them into something that's more manageable, and it comes up with life satisfaction scores, if you will, for these different decision pathways. We're able to adjust those scores, though, to account for those biases, their financial schema, as well as lean into their values, so that they can make decisions that are not only aligned with their long-term financial security, but their overall well-being. But don't trust us. They're able to run the numbers, too, and see what happens if they paid off all the debt, or if they invested that equity, or did something else. Spoiler alert, there was a $200,000 difference in the pathway that they could choose. And we're also able to provide just-in-time education to help them along that decision-making and have even more confidence in what they can choose. So our go-to-market strategy is really focused on a B2B approach with advisors. We think there's a lot of applicability here, but direct-to-consumer will be a tougher pathway, especially for advisors that are focused on millennial and Gen Z clients, which is a tough nut to crack. We've had a lot of discussions with these folks where we have strong relationships on the right-hand side. In fact, I sent the psychometric questionnaires to Clarity over the weekend. Our market's pretty big. There's an average of 4 to 6% of tech spend. 65% of that is actually spent on CRM and financial planning software within the RIA space, so we're really trying to fit there. We have a strong team. Joe has worked with the Department of Defense to work with special forces like the Navy SEALs to overcome emotions to perform better in stressful situations. Alejandro is with Franklin Templeton as a senior data scientist and worked with me. And our ask is $150,000 to get from this prototyping phase to an MVP by the first of the year to get ready for New Year's resolution season. So that's really what our plan is in our go-to-market strategy. And if you're interested, you can scan this QR code to find out what your role plan is. Thanks.
Nice. Thank you for that presentation. I have two questions, so I'll start with the first one. How do you envision adoption of this and the likelihood that people will take the suggested advice?
Yeah, so behavior change is hard too, right? So on the adoption side, so I'll give you the example from Clarity that we've had so far. So at first, in fact, they were sort of like, I think this is relevant for like maybe 10 to 20% of our clients. But as we started talking through it and giving the examples, because we've had 40 to 50 people take the psychometric questionnaires to date in a version 1, and then we've iterated on that already for our MVP. And they were like, oh, actually, we run into these sort of situations with our clients all the time where, you know, we say they have this runway, they may have $10 million in the bank, but at the rate they're spending, it's actually a big deal. So they're seeing this as an opportunity to give their clients a tool to kind of overcome the tensions they have in their client conversations. So that's really an example where I think that it can be really helpful for advisors in navigating those waters with their clients. I think on the direct-to-consumer side, Kuba, with KISS UX, actually mentions like, maybe you actually start with the decision-making tool. You have this question. I think a lot of folks go on to, we do know actually that more and more people go to the internet for advice. So starting with that question, giving them the tools to sort of navigate these complex decisions, and then say, is this helping you with your overall well-being and financial security? Maybe we then back into. So there's a little bit of still user testing on that piece, but I think that the component parts are there.
Okay, thank you for that answer. My second question was about any potential legal or liability risks.
Sure, so I am adjacent to two highly regulated industries, financial services, financial advice, as well as mental health. So one of the nice things is Mariah and Megan, our two advisors, are licensed marriage and family therapists. So we're really working with them to think through what that looks like. You know, how do we think about this from the user experience and what might we need in place there. But on the regulatory side, with financial services, right now, we're not planning to offer significant advice, which is counterintuitive, but like in the spirit of the legal framework, what qualifies as advice, we are threading that needle really tightly as we can sort of register as an advisor ourselves with the SEC. But there are thresholds of AUM that we won't be actually managing the assets that also gets around.
So interesting concept, Nick. But are you trying to do too many things at the same time? That's one thought that went through my head. And specifically when you're talking to people like the PNCs, the world of financial institution, as your first trust somewhere, do these people have something like this already? Or are they thinking about using this to empower their advisors and financial counselors?
So in terms of doing too much, it's something I think about every day. And as a founder, we're always vacillating between so many different parts of the business, but also the product itself, right? So for me, we've been really laser focused on the psychometrics piece. And what we found was it's really helped with that decision-making part as well. So that's really where we're focused and working with hopefully some of these early adopters and getting that feedback to make sure that like, is this what's going to be helpful for you? And that leads to the second part of your question. In my experience working with PNC Asset Management, it is empowering advisors to have these conversations because they love being portfolio managers, and as a relationship-driven business, they need to know their clients better, especially that next gen. So it's a way to sort of offer that, especially when it comes to couples, and how they can navigate those relationships.
So last question. You mentioned you have a B2B play and you have a B2C play. What comes first?
B2B. So we think we can getting the data from their clients, over time, we would be able to expand. But we are hyper-focused on the B2B investment advisor space.
Okay, this is our last question, real quick answer. I think I'm down to 30 seconds or less. The financial model again, about what your revenue looks like and all of that.
Sure. So it's a monthly subscription model. If we were to just go to market with the psychometrics right now, there are competitors out there in a much more analog form that charge $2,000 a month plus certain seats, subscriptions. We think we can charge closer to $10,000 in the MVP phase, but at PNC we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars per, not per license, but for like 50 licenses or something, all the way up to millions of dollars for more sophisticated software. So there's a lot of upside there, but even at the lower end, we feel like we can, with 2% market penetration, we can hit $1 million of ARR.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Logan Jones, and I'm an attorney, retail investor, and the founder of Ticker, a groundbreaking social media app designed specifically for the everyday investor. Ticker is making stock investing social, similar to the way Venmo socialized peer-to-peer payments. By show of hands, how many of you would start investing or invest more often if you were doing it with a loved one or someone more knowledgeable about the stock market than you? You should all talk to me afterwards. Thank you. That's actually how I got started. Like 20 million others, I got into investing during the COVID lockdown in 2020. With nothing better to do, my friends and I were constantly texting each other about the research we were doing and the stocks we were investing in. Not only was investing more enjoyable for me when it was social, but my return on investment was the highest it's ever been. It could have been higher though. In the summer of 2020, I received a free low-cost share from referring a friend to Robinhood. After a few months, I sold it for a 2x return, which I thought was great until a few months later it hit what would have been a 70x return. While doing research to determine how others knew to get in on this, I discovered Wall Street Bets for the first time. At first I thought it was great. It was similar to what my friends and I had been doing offline all summer, but I was getting intel from millions of other people. But then I quickly realized that half of what I was seeing on that subreddit was misinformation and doctored photos with fake returns. And that's the problem with most social investing platforms, because they require manual updates, allowing room for misinformation. It got me thinking, what if there was a way to see what people were actually investing their money? That would require a trustworthy platform with verified trades. And that's exactly what Ticker is, the first social investing platform to provide automatic verified investment updates in real time. As soon as one of our users engages in activity on the stock market, an update instantly appears in the feed of every user they've allowed to follow them. All investment activity is automatically verified because it comes directly from the trading platforms on which our users bought or sold trades. Ticker's not making strangers on the internet more trustworthy, but it does provide a platform the everyday user can trust, which allows them to see what people are actually investing in, which provides a starting point for their own independent research and investment strategies. Our users can learn from more experienced investors or follow the example of more experienced investors or serve as a guide for newer investors. Ticker's providing transparency and empowering users to make more informed investment decisions. Studies show that 73% of Gen Z and millennials say their primary source of financial information comes from their family and friends. 79% have gotten financial advice from social media, with 62% feeling empowered by this access to financial advice. Gen Z is the most active generation when it comes to investing, with 73% owning stocks and 70% trading at least monthly. There are over 200 million retail investors in the United States, and 90 million of them are under the age of 44. But we're not just looking to cater to a slice of the pie at Ticker. Our goal is to expand the whole pie by providing a trustworthy platform for new investors to find community and a starting point. We'll begin as a free app while we amass users. To gain traction, we'll require all new users to invite at least 3 friends before they can complete their account registration. We'll also recruit investment clubs from college campuses across the country. And we're playing around with the idea of allowing our users to share their verified updates directly to the social investing platforms they're already using. We'll earn revenue through sponsorships with financial companies and eventually launching Ticker Plus, a premium subscription that will provide finance-related content for our users and allow them to grow their following, influence, and credibility by uploading their own content and even charging their followers, from which Ticker will collect a fee per transaction. We'll also explore avenues for leveraging the immense amount of financial data we'll collect. As a retail investor myself, I'm eager to know what my peers and mentors are investing in because I know that growing as an investor means following the example of better investors. And as an attorney, I'm uniquely positioned to navigate the regulations necessary to make Ticker successful and compliant. I've begun building the team necessary to bring Ticker to life. I'm currently in talks with competent developers and I've assembled experienced advisors. With our vision, skills, and experience, I'm confident in our ability to make this app successful. But we could use your help. Not only are we looking to leverage additional experience and expertise, but we only need $100,000 to complete the MVP and begin acquiring users. Today's $7,000 award would help us complete the framework of the app. We're also looking for beta testers to add to our growing list of early users. So join us in shaping the future of social investment with Ticker, where every tick of the market is a movement toward a more transparent and collaborative investment culture. Thank you.
Very ambitious. Keep up. So, the biggest question I have for you is this. What's going to be your biggest obstacle in promoting this concept? While you have some established players, in a way or an E-trade with the community aspect, right? What's going to be the biggest challenge?
Yeah, I think it depends who we're talking about. So for our users, I think Gen Z and millennials, obviously the target market, they're already active on these social investing platforms. There's StockTwits, which is like a Twitter for stocks and social media. They have 6 million users and they've raised $43 million. Now, when you talk to people who are Gen X and older, typically I get questions about the legal aspect of it. And so that is somewhat of a hurdle as far as raising funds. So that's probably going to be the biggest thing, is raising funds to get this thing developed. Development's kind of been a hold up. I'm not against having a co-founder, but co-founding is like a marriage, and I would never jump into a marriage, so that's the second reason why most startups fail. So I'm taking my time with that. So funding is really the hurdle, and I think convincing, VCs who are typically Gen X and above, that this is going to be a lucrative idea. To the legal piece, there is Section 230 of the SEC that protects social media platforms from what's presented there. Really, the red tape comes in when you are a trading brokerage. We're not going to do the trading, we're just showing you what other people are trading, so that shows the facts right there. But as long as we're not promoting, so if I were to say, you should follow Nick, he's a great investor, now I'm facing legal trouble, and that's kind of the issue of bringing AI into this, which people ask us as well. But if we're just saying these are the most active Ticker users, or these are the investments that your friends and family that you signed up to follow are using, then we're pretty free of liability. There's always red tape somewhere, but we're pretty aware of where those are. Thank you.
I really like this. I also like your slogan at the end. So your monetization strategy is the eventual subscription plan that will, for the premium version. What came to my mind was the money could be made in the data, right, of all the people, the different people, and what stocks they're selling. And especially because like you said, we're not the brokerage for ourselves. We're just hosting platform for people that are doing the stock trading. So I was thinking of that, and even ads for the stocks themselves individually, the companies themselves individually that are selling stocks. I feel like that is that's the red tape of it all. But I guess my overarching question is, are there other monetization strategies that you've been playing around with in your head?
We're exploring them. I think the main thing would be the subscription model, and a big thing is once we are to that point where we have a lot of followers who have gained traction and now or a lot of users who have a lot of followers, there are places all over Facebook, WhatsApp, Reddit, Twitch, where people are paying and there's no actual escrow for that money. So if I'm paying to follow you and your trades, how do I know I'm getting that money? So going to that Twitch, like OnlyFans model seems like it could be lucrative once we have the user base to support that.
Okay, again, great idea. I do also have a question similar to the other judges. How do you defend against other technology companies kind of jumping in and doing something similar? Like what keeps others out of this space?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it depends who the others are. Sorry, I'm a lawyer, the answer is always it depends. But for instance, like I get the question a lot, what if Robinhood decides to do this? But Robinhood only has access to Robinhood's data, whereas we'll have data from across trading platforms. And there is some legislation in place right now to almost create like a universal API where users have to have access to their financial information. So Robinhood can't stop us. If you're saying I want Ticker to have access to my Robinhood trades, they can't stop that. That's still in the works, it's not fully there right now. But I think being early in the market is a little bit of an edge. There's nothing really stopping anyone from doing anything, to be honest, but just getting early in the market, building this out, and getting the users and the brand recognition is going to be a big part of it. Does that answer your question fully?
Are you going to give me the, what has the reception been? Because you mentioned that one of the hardships is VCs tend to be of the demographic that doesn't necessarily see it furthest, maybe. So what has the experience been so far in trying to share this opportunity?
Yeah, so with the target users, it's been great. I mean, even a lot of hands in this room went up, and I may have told some of them too, but most of them I didn't. So there are Gen Z millennial who are very interested in the idea, and so from a user perspective, traction is growing even without, like, I have a launch list that I barely promote, and that's been growing by the day without much promotion at all. So people are interested in the idea. As far as the next generation, one of my advisors is an angel investor, and he's like, no, like, we need what you're creating because that verification piece and the real-time piece. So that real-time piece doesn't exist on any of our competitor platforms. You may see people follow like Nancy Pelosi's trades and other people's trades. It's not real-time, it's typically a month behind. So there are people in the older generations that are getting it, but as far as users, I think I'm understanding your question.
I think it's more like, have they pointed out what they would want to see to be more interested? Have they given you some areas to go into that would activate their interest more?
Yeah, I've been doing some user interviews. Everyone gives you different things, so I think staying true to the original concept is important with some feedback. But there is a certain interest with like signal groups, which are like these people who like day trade or night trade, and they want like live video, audio. So those are things that we can build out later and kind of target signal groups to host on our platform. But as of right now, people seem to really like the core idea, and that's what they stick to for the MVP. Thank you.
Is it on? And let's see. Good to go. Awesome. Hey everyone, my name is Jedediah Weller. I'm the founder of Start Wars, and we are a simulation platform for entrepreneurship education. Now, before I talk about the platform, let me talk about entrepreneurship in general, okay? You are all entrepreneurs, and you're all in this startup ecosystem, okay? Whether you're an investor, whether you're an advisor, or whether my fellow presenters up here today, we're all part of this, and we are not alone. There are over 582 million people worldwide who are bona fide entrepreneurs, and in the US, 2 million students come to college every single year, and they say, I want to be just like you guys. I want to start my own business. Right? But you know what? It's difficult to learn how to run your own business. And unlike other disciplines, whether it be math, science, art, etc., you can't just go from the classroom, take your professor's lessons, and then go home and try it, right? And that's a big issue. And so the problem that we're solving is that in entrepreneurship education, there's this huge gap between theory and practice, right? There's no way for, let's say my colleague Mo, he's a student, right? And he goes to class and he wants to learn how to create a restaurant. How is he going to take his advice and his instruction from his instructor and actually apply that? And right now, what instructors do is they present a textbook on entrepreneurship education, but don't get me wrong, it's valuable, but it's not the experience of running a business. Same with case studies and same with guest speakers. So, learning entrepreneurship requires experience, and that's the problem that we're looking to solve. Now, we're not alone in thinking this. Over the past 3 years, we've worked with over 5,000 instructors and students from 26 universities in order to identify this problem and to solve it in the actual creation of our product. Introducing Startup Wars. We are the only platform that puts students in the actual seat of the founder, no matter what type of business it is. They make all the same decisions they do when you're actually running a company. They make hiring decisions, firing decisions, they deal with the employee morale, they do workload management, you name it. All that contextually driven in the type of company that they actually want to run, right? Now, let's see if this thing goes to the next slide. There it goes. Now, the reason I say we're a platform is because we don't just provide one simulation. We actually have a series of simulations. That way students can choose simulations that are based upon their personal background. Imagine you have a Business 101 class, you have 400 students in there. Not everyone wants to do the exact same thing, right? So, over the first 6 months, we just launched in September of last year, right? So last fall term. And within our first 6 months, we had 33 paying classes, almost 2,000 students, and we've achieved $74,000 in sales in the first 8 months, because $25,000 was after the semester, for the next semester. Our business model is very simple, $15 per simulation per student. And what we found is that on average, people are buying more than one, which is great. Now, on average, $21 per purchase price, which means you're buying more than one simulation. And we also found that the average class size is about 70 people, and our average value per customer, which right now in phase 1 as an instructor, is about $1,500. So phase 1, which is what we're in right now, we are pursuing higher education, which is colleges, accelerators, and also high schools as well. We just found out they want to buy this, which is awesome. But that's not our ultimate vision, right? Our ultimate vision is to open this platform up so that our instructors, who are the experts in teaching, right, they can actually create their own simulations, publish them, and the overall global economy, anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, they can actually go in and purchase it as a consumer platform. Imagine Coursera meets Roblox. So, the ask. We have 2 asks. I'm always sales first driven, so first ask, if you know anyone who teaches entrepreneurship or business, please connect us. And then the second ask is we will be doing a fundraising round later this year in the fall, right? And that fundraising round will be specifically to build out that larger consumer version, right? Because right now we have phase 1 and consumer is phase 3. So, good on time. Oh, look at that, I was rushing. All right, so our team, this is not our first rodeo. So I do have an established team. We are great at building products. We actually built this first as a mobile application, and then during COVID, we actually pivoted because all of a sudden all these educational institutes reached out to us. They're like, hey, we need ways to actually engage our students because they're all falling asleep on Zoom. So we said, okay, let's actually build this. And I think one of the reasons it worked out is because we built it as a consumer-grade product, and then we just pivoted into education. Myself, I am an entrepreneur. I am also a software engineer. I've been coding since I've been like 8 years old. And yeah, I love business and entrepreneurship. We've built over 100 tech products, over 20 million users we've supported over the past 10 years. So, again, I know the technology space. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Startup Wars. Thank you so much.
That was fabulous.
Thank you.
So, you're looking at somebody who was an entrepreneur, who's taught entrepreneurship, and I studied at Carnegie Mellon, and one of the best things that I went through was the management game simulation.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so my question to you is, are you going to be selling to these educational institutions that, they could be MBAs, and for instance,
Yep.
how many of them already have a simulation like this, and how many can you supercharge with what you have?
That is a great question. So right now, we are selling simulations that we've created, right? However, our phase 2 is we're actually going to be pivoting that and working with instructors so they can create their own. Because if we compete against them, we have Heidi Neck from Babson, we've got the marketplace simulations, we've got Versionomics, we have all these different simulation spaces. What typically happens is an educator, they'll get a couple $100,000 from the university, like Sarah Toms from Wharton, right, Wharton Interactive, and they'll try to build out this product. But they are not product designers or product developers. And it's going to be a huge investment of time, money, right? And you're not going to get the best product. So what we're doing is we're saying, you know what? We're going to give you the tools to actually create these simulations. And now instead of taking a year to build it, you can just build it in like that, right? So that's how we're going to approach that. And that's going to be our phase 2. Yeah, thank you. And this is my colleague Mo, by the way. He's our instructional designer. So yeah, he knows all the education side. I'm more the technology, but he brings legitimacy to all of us. So that's a good thing.
I also think this is a fabulous idea, and I graduated from Wharton, and so did a lot of Wharton interactive.
Awesome. Okay. Cool.
Every class had one, so my first question had been, "What are you going to do to compete?" I guess now I'm pivoting the question to, if you're opening your platform to allow other people to create their own simulations, I guess what is the monetization strategy from that aspect? And then how do you protect your, IP or basically what you've made as they publish and do things with your technology?
Yeah, great question. So we're following the Roblox business model, right? And Roblox, if you guys don't know, it's a game, a game platform for creating games on mobile. And essentially, what we're saying is, we have the tools and we have all the underlying code. That's all our IP. But anything that they create, right? So let's say they take one of our existing sims. Like we have a food truck sim where I actually went all throughout Philadelphia, interviewed all the different food truck owners, and I gathered data just about, how do you operate? How many sales are you making? I even sat out front of them, watching for an hour, just counting how many transactions. So we've got that one, but maybe you don't agree with the way that one is structured. You can customize it however you like, and any changes that you make are going to be yours. You own those. We don't have any claim to those. In terms of pricing, we're having those conversations right now. We believe we're going to let the instructor actually choose. Because if you look on Coursera or Udemy, a lot of business and entrepreneurship instructors, they currently already sell side courses about business and entrepreneurship, and they'll sell them for anywhere from $15 to $45 on average, right? So it's probably going to be a $30 amount, and then if it's $30, essentially what we're going to do is we say 25% is going to go to them, 25% is going to go to us, and then 50% is going to go to hosting, marketing, etc., which we would all support because typically they're not going to have that expertise in-house.
And that's sustainable?
Yes,
okay.
That is sustainable, yep.
So then my follow-up question is, because as soon as you said Sims, I was like, oh, this is the Sims for entrepreneurs, which is fun. So you pivoted from it being an app into it being for education. How has that pivot gone? Do you think it was the right decision?
Oh, it was hell on earth. Yeah. So good question. So we knew it was going to take us a couple of years to build a quality game, right? Because the gaming industry, if you look at a AAA game, it's going to take 6 to 8 years, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And so we figured, okay, we're going to need to invest money over the course of 3 to 4 years to build this out. Less than 1 year in is when COVID happened, and then we said, okay, well, we do see this opportunity because we were originally going to go into education secondary because we know it's a long sales cycle, right? We also know that educators typically don't like to change their curriculum, right? But now all of a sudden they're willing to change, and they're super willing. Plus, entrepreneurship instructors are cooler than most, I think. I'm biased, but and they're willing to try new things all the time. So I would say the good part, the easy part was it only took us a little less than a year to actually pivot from mobile to web because of the technology that we use. The harder part was adapting our business model. To give you an example, Florida State and Ohio State University, they were both using us, and they were ready to pay, 2 years ago. And all of a sudden, we said, okay, we're ready, but we have an issue. I'm like, what? They're like, Jedi. 1% of our students weren't able to use it during the pilot because they didn't have a smartphone. And we said, oh shit, and it has to be accessible to everyone. So we had to make the pivot to web, and that was a huge, it was basically a year project, but we finished it, and now everyone's happy and everyone's good.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Well, thanks for sharing. And we reached our time.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, only 2 more pitches left, so we've had an awesome pitch day thus far. I just want to say thank you to the Pennovation team for the great program and putting on this pitch day. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Rachel Lee, and I'm the founder of CFO for All. We are an AI-powered financial analytics and educational software that is improving business outcomes for early-stage businesses. So a little bit about my background. I had studied finance and accounting at Georgetown before working in private equity for a few years, and then I was investing in female-founded consumer packaged goods businesses in BC. And I got to work with some of the amazing founders that you see on the screen who were incredibly innovative, but they were struggling with their financials because they were very heavily reliant on their outsourced CFO consultants. Now, the problem is businesses with less than 10 million in revenue can't typically afford an in-house CFO, and so they're stuck relying on fractional resources. I was often stepping in to help them with this kind of analysis as well, and that's where I was seeing firsthand how they were dealing with decentralized information, they had poor forecasting, and it was sometimes causing liquidity challenges. The bottom line is that businesses don't fail because of bad ideas, they fail because of bad financial management. And that's where CFO for All comes in. We are providing early-stage consumer goods businesses with both a diagnosis and a prescription to improve their financial health. And we're doing this via a centralized analytics platform powered by AI, which is pulling in all of the relevant financial and business information into a centralized platform from forms that they're already familiar with using, and analyzing it not only on a historical basis, but also on a go-forward basis, providing what-if scenario analysis, as well as having an overarching edtech element, which we think is important because this will be upskilling the founders as they use the tool. You can think of it kind of like TurboTax. The main intent is to actually get your taxes done more efficiently, but by the end, you know a little bit more and you feel more comfortable with your taxes. In terms of our market size, there are over 33 million US small businesses, and that's our total addressable market, but we're really focused in on the consumer goods space as our beachhead and entry point. Now, the consumer goods space is important for 2 reasons for our product. First, it's a very capital-intensive industry, and it's very operationally complex. Also, I have seen these problems firsthand, helped solve them, and so I have good market insight on how we can provide tailored financial solutions to address the problems in the consumer goods space. We estimate if we get just 0.5% to 2% of the beachhead market, that'll generate anywhere from 500 to 2,000 users or $5 to $18 million of revenue per year. I want to double down on what differentiates us. Again, we are starting with industry-specific insights with the consumer goods industry, as well as an ed tech component that I mentioned. Just to give you a broader view of what's going on in the financial planning and analytics software space, a lot of the players today are focused in the bottom 2 quadrants, really providing a lot of bookkeeping services. And as you start to move upwards into the insight space, there are people addressing both the startups and the larger enterprises, but not a lot in the SMB space, which is where CFO for All has found the white space. Our business model is a tiered pricing strategy running anywhere from as low as $2,000 upwards of $12,000 a year, which relative to an actual in-house CFO charging $120,000 to $250,000 presents a meaningful value add for our CPG businesses. And then in terms of the go-to-market strategy, we're really focused on using word of mouth, which is 92% more trusted than other channels. But of course, we will complement this with some digital marketing as well as content marketing. In terms of the progress we made this summer through the Pennovation Accelerator, we're super excited to share the developments across our professionalization, our product development, our go-to-market strategy, and of course, making the most of great programs like Pennovation. So in terms of professionalization, we have incorporated, we've signed up with a banking partner, we have legal assistance, and also our online presence. And then in terms of the product, I'm super excited to share that we basically started with a blank slate at the beginning of the summer. We went through the tech development, the wireframes, and now we have V1 of the MVP ready to go. And here's a quick snapshot of that. It's basically a working capital tool that gives early stage companies a better insight into what their current assets and current liabilities to manage the liquidity going forward, and we are in discussions with potential pilot partners right now. In terms of our game plan and where we're tracking, the upcoming quarters are really going to be focused on testing the product and then we're going more into commercialization in the beginning of 2025, as well as fundraising in spring of 2025. Our ask today is really around strategic support. So if anything that you've heard today really resonates with you from AI, fintech perspective, if you can think of any market introductions that would be useful, either potential customers or partners or sponsors, that would be wonderful. So I'd love to go 30 minutes to share more about what we're working on ahead of our fundraise next year. With that, the mission at the end of the day, for me, I'm super passionate about helping other creative types like myself to really be able to bring the great products that they have of serious passion for to life. And so CFO for All is providing the financial support and analytics to enable them to do that. So if this is something that interests you, I would encourage you to connect with us and would love to share more later. So welcome your questions. Thank you.
Thanks for that. I guess my team here knows I love numbers, and I'm an Excel nut. Anything that could take Excel out of the equation for small and medium-sized businesses would be great. So one of my questions is, I know there's an EdTech component, but will this be the type of tool that, because I think there's an intimidation factor for small business owners when it comes to numbers. Will this be the type of tool that when they turn it on, like the user experience kind of removes some of the fears and burdens of understanding what they're even looking at? Because you just talked about assets, liabilities. I'm like, what if they don't understand it exactly in those terms to be able to make sense of it?
I completely agree. I think a lot of the challenge with financial literacy is there's so much technical terminology that's used, and that creates a barrier to really understanding the financials. And so the EdTech component is not only to help you better understand, like in the MVP we have, like what are your net working capital metrics and sort of understanding the definitions, but also providing context appropriate explanations of what's going on in your specific financials. And to your point around the confidence that we're trying to inspire, this is important not only because, one, I think it makes the product stickier if you're really tapping into that emotional element, but also just having seen these founders firsthand and know that they are pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into this. If there's anything that we can do to reduce the stress on the part of the business that isn't their sweet spot so they can really light up and spend their time on the things that are really driving the business forward, that's something that I'm passionate about, and I think others can be behind as well.
Very nifty idea. So, within the CPG space, are you going to track, are you going to sort of focus on everyone from a startup upwards, and consequently, this is a young entrepreneur who's just starting up to come up with their financial statements, to come up with a working financial model along with capitalization tables. So does it give you everything, or does it give you more of the accounting statements?
So I would say our most ideal customer profile is in the range of $1 million to 10 million trailing revenue. So that's when they really start to grow and scale and need more of the financial insights. We're less so focused on the bookkeeping and just general financial reporting, and more so on how do you grow the business, not just make sure it's a going concern. And so these are the kinds of consumers that are looking to expand into different channels, and they have a lot more components going on. So this sort of relieves the pressure on understanding real time what's going on with your liquidity.
And when you supplement this with either live financial coaches or AI-driven financial coaches as an additional layer, so you can take on the Robert Half of the world and just kill CFO part-time industry.
Yeah, let's get rid of them. But no, we picture this tool as something that could partner really well with either an in-house accountant or sort of a fractional CFO could even use this so that they can increase the efficiency for the hours that they're booking. We don't see this as something that has to totally eliminate the idea of a CFO, and in fact, once you pass that 10 million mark, we envision this as a product that stays on just so you continue to track your finances real time and help with strategic planning. So I don't see it as something that has to be tech only. We are integrating AI right now providing not only natural language summaries of what's going on in your financials, but also in generating sort of almost makes you feel like you have a partner, like you are dealing with a fractional CFO that you can ask questions to, except they don't take breaks, they don't have an attitude, it is available 24/7. So I can see it going both ways, and in terms of our pricing model, our entry level is the most basic, but we could see on the third tier potentially having some live help as well. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of our questions. Thanks for the presentation.
All right, we're almost at the end. Hi, my name is Vera. I'm the co-founder of KISS UX, and we're developing the first ever fully accessible application design tool. Kuba, right here, and I are leading a digital web design and app design agency. And this is one of our clients who chose to remain anonymous, but she's a SaaS founder, and earlier this year she was pursuing an SBIR grant. During the review process of her grant proposal, one of the reviewers noted that her app was not ADA compliant. So she turned to us, and we had to redesign the entire user interface of her application to make it ADA compliant. Now, not compliant would have disqualified her from the proposal process. Now you may ask, why is accessibility so important? Well, updated regulations and guidelines outlined in the Americans with Disabilities Act actually require every single business operating a website or an application to be fully ADA compliant. With lawsuits on the rise against small businesses, around $120 million paid in settlement fees in 2023, and numbers on the rise, and these startups struggling to meet the requirements, we asked ourselves, what if we created a tool that would de-risk the application design process, put accessibility at the forefront, and automate its implementation? That's why we are introducing a new standard for app creation. Through accessibility and ease of use, we're creating a scalable, repeatable, and consistent app design process. So anyone, regardless of their design skill or ability level, can create applications. Not only is the output created in our app fully accessible, but also the tool itself, including a demographic in the design process that has historically been left out. KISS UX is the only Section 508 and ADA compliant design tool, and through future-proof UI and AI-enabled UI recommendations, we take the guesswork out of creating applications. Where do we fit in? There's a market of around 40 billion startups worldwide, but we're going to focus on a small subset of that market, which is the 60,000 US startups creating applications each year, graduating from incubator and accelerator programs. That market is valued at around $13 million. The way we are going to address that market is through raising brand awareness through PR, media, social media, content, and email marketing campaigns, as well as actively building relationships with university incubator, accelerator, and entrepreneurship programs. Some things that we've done so far is launch our prototype in January of this year. We onboarded 42 test customers so far. And in March of 2024, we were accepted into the Ben Franklin Technology Partners portfolio. And in June, we submitted our funding proposal. If everything goes according to plan and we are approved through the due diligence process, we are set to begin the development of our V1 in August and then launch in December of this year. Here are some of our strategic partnerships and networks. We are going to base our business model on a subscription basis. We're going to offer 3 different tiers going from solo to team to agency, priced based on the number of subscription that the user is taking, and the seats that the user is taking. There's also going to be an organization plan starting at $60,000 annually with a custom theme and a white label option for organizations and educational institutions that have a larger number of seats to give away. Here is a little bit about our revenue and expenses. The first 2 years, we're going to be in the red, that's why we're raising money. And then we see an increase in revenue the following years until 2028. If we were awarded the $7,000 today, which is our ask, we would use it to create a product roadmap to get from V1 to V2. We would hire an accessibility design consultant to conduct an audit of our current prototype. And we would also like to create app design training modules with a local training specialist and a video editor. Additionally, we're seeking to raise $400,000 to grow our team, to roll out new features, and to invest in marketing efforts. Here's our team. Myself and Kuba, as I said, we've been running an agency for about 3 years now. I'm in charge of marketing, sales, operations, keep the engine running, and Kuba is our designer and creative and taking care of everything that looks good that we produce. We're complemented by our full stack engineer, Jin, and our 3 advisors, Leo, director at the Penn State Launchbox, Ron Vida, director of DTV Labs, our strategic advisor, and Alan, CEO of Fall Forward Venture Studio, our technical advisor. All right, this is it. Feel free to follow us on LinkedIn or send us an email if you have any questions. And yeah, we're looking forward to answering your questions.
Thanks for that. So I do know that I guess the big differentiating factor is the fact that you can offer ADA compliance support. For any of your other competitors, what keeps them from being able to offer the ADA component to their product?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So one of the main differences is how we actually structure the prototyping process. So while they have they focus in on what they call the infinite canvas, where you can drag and drop components onto that, but it actually makes it nearly impossible, if not impossible, to actually make that a truly 5-way compliant prototyping tool. And that's just because of the inherent way that the users build in the screen. So you have to have fine motor skills, you have to have a certain level of ability of eyesight. So the way that we're building is actually everything structured and laid out in a pre-composed grid, which then allows the user elements to be added in place where, so in a place that's according to design best practices.
What I loved about your presentation was it was thorough. It pretty much covered the entire aspect. I mean, you didn't gloss over anything, which was fantastic. How are you going to scale this? You know, when you have your target market at something like 13 million, right? How are you going to scale this? And I've seen a lot of agencies, particularly in the last 4 or 5 years, struggling to scale. How are you going to do that?
So the way we are anticipating to scale is because we have those 2 buckets right now. We have our agency and then we have the SaaS product. We actually want to create one entity where we offer prototyping services with our tool on not on a subscription basis, on a per project basis, as a second business model. From a target market standpoint, the startups aren't our entire target market. This is going to be our initial focus. Because we are ADA compliant, government contractors, federal contractors are going to be able to use our tool to create applications and further down the line websites for the government, because around 60,000, I think, government entities are now forced within the next 3 years to create fully accessible digital solutions and have to change everything if they haven't taken care of that in the past.
So will you cannibalize your agency business, or will the 2 coexist?
That's a good question. I think we would probably lean towards focusing on the SaaS tool versus scaling our agency more, because software as a service is scalable, but an agency is not really scalable. So that answers the question.
Just to add a little more context to that, what we're anticipating is that we're actually going to transition our full-fledged UI UX agency and focus in on the prototyping. So it's actually, what's that? Okay, so that's a key aspect of as we're moving through this process and developing this tool, we're going to be testing this in-house, and as we develop it, it gives us a unique opportunity to have like a really good build, test, and deploy feedback loop. So that's where we really want to be.
I hate to be, that's a horrible saying. I hate to repeat some of the things that have already been said. I'm glad that you said that the government was another customer. I worried about the educational field being the only customer. Beyond that you will hold to ADA regulations, what other value proposition do you see your tool having that makes it so the opposite question to hers? What do you see yourself as differentiating beyond that?
So that's oh, you can take that, yeah.
That's okay, go ahead.
You'll help fill in whatever yeah. So 30 seconds. So that's a great question. And so key aspects, 508 compliance, absolutely, that actually plays into a lot of bigger picture where every tool that that federal contractors use has to also be ADA compliant. So that's where we have a really good market opportunity. But to add to your question of what are the key differentiators, so we'll introduce things like global theming. So whereas which future-proofs any UI that's built with our tool, because users can build once, and then as new regulations come out and things have to change, they can redeploy, or they can just with a click of a button, it actually reskins their entire application. But that is a specific feature. So, and then additionally, the AI system screen design. So a lot of our competitors are actually having a very hard time with ownership over intellectual property because they're using their users' data to actually train their models. And Figma, for example, the biggest player in the field right now, they actually have to pull their AI model because there's a lot of questions as to who owns that intellectual property and whether or not they're actually allowed to use that to train their large language model. And so we have a unique opportunity there because everything that we've trained our AI model with is built in-house through our own templates.
Well, thank you. That brings us to the end of our Q&A.
Thank you so much. Can we have another round of applause for our entire team?
I'm going to kindly ask our panel of judges to meet Kirsten King in our seminar room, and she will guide you through the deliberation process.
Everybody, so please take their seats. We're going to have Alex Thompson from Medicratic give us an update. He was the overall winner during last year's pitch competition. Welcome, Alex.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. It's an absolute pleasure to be back. Thank you, Kirsten and Jamie, for inviting me back. It's strange to be up here again, talking to the room. For reference, everyone, I actually did my pitch last year without any slides, which not recommended. So, I guess to talk about any of this, I want to give everyone here a really brief overview of what Medicratic is and what we do. And if I had to pick a kind of framing to describe this company, it's started really narrow and has expanded over time as implications have become clearer to us. And so I'm going to just, instead of kind of taking it from an abstract level, I'm actually going to briefly just talk you through kind of how I came across this particular problem that we're trying to solve. Briefly, I'm Alex. I'm actually a medical student at the University of Pennsylvania. I'm currently on an indefinite leave of absence because do not start a software company in medical school, not recommended. But of course, I'm also an entrepreneur. A data and ML nerd. I actually came to medicine from epidemiology. I have a background in big data, which I think informs a lot of what this company does. I'm also a any sort of compromise. We'll touch on that in a bit. When I arrived in medical school, it's a little bit like sliding into a pressure cooker, where there is enormous focus. It's all everyone talks about. What do you have to do to match into residency, right? The training that you do after medical school to qualify as an oncologist, as an orthopedic surgeon, etc. And what everyone tells you is you need to do research. You need to do research if you want to match into orthopedics. You need to do research if you want to match into cardiology. And so I asked why, and kind of asking around, right? I've got a lot of different answers, right? You need to stand out, right? Maybe residency programs care more about research nowadays. It's how you be competitive. Maybe more medical students are taking research years. But all of that's kind of a compromise answer, right? I decided to actually ask the programs directly. I sat down with some program directors, people who actually go through and sift through their applications and decide what candidates to recruit, right, to become surgeons, to become oncologists. And they said something really interesting. They said, we don't care about research that much, we care about it a bit. I was like, huh, that's interesting. So why is it all you select for? And they said, it's not. I was like, all right, tell me a little bit about how you do select. And this picture began to emerge, which is, for a typical orthopedic surgery program, just to pick one out of the air, but many of them are like this, they receive 704 applications. Right. They'll actually read about 250, and they have 8 residency slots, on average. Right? 250 applications is about 15,000 pages of text. Right? That's, about 13 copies of War and Peace, something like that, an enormous amount of reading. Right? These are surgeons, right? These are people who are reading these documents instead of doing hip replacements. So why the pressure on research output? We haven't actually answered the question. Right? This position here, to get from applicant to reviewed, what makes your application get read? If you don't have enough time to read all the applications, right? What metrics determine whether or not your application gets read? Number of publications, research output, crudely. So, why do they care so much more about research? Because programs are forced to incentivize it. Right? This creates a bunch of terrible incentives on medical students, right, which are kind of apparent. Right? And so if you have 750 applications and you need to pick 8, right? How do you find the best applicants for you in a sea of words, 45,000 pages long? Right? This is, at some level, a big data problem. Right? As for what I trained in, right? A big data problem. How do we extract insights from an amount of data that is ultimately unmanageable? Right? Speaking to programs, 3 requirements for this emerged. Right? A solution that would solve this for them would be fast. It would allow them to get to the bottom of their applications quickly, right? So they could go back to doing clinical medicine. Right? It would be fair. It would not introduce any biases. Right? It would be reasonable, and it would interpret applications in a nuanced way, just like they would. And it needs to be flexible, because there's no such thing as the best applicant overall. There is only the best applicant for a particular program. The answer, or our answer, was Halstead. Can we play this video? Is this allowed? This is technically a video embedded. No. If that wasn't playing, Halstead is essentially an analytics suite that allows programs to teach the software what it is they look for in an application. It goes and reads every single application, and it reads applications at about 3,000 an hour, and then it scores them all consistently, fairly, and presents them with a ranked view of, in all of your applicants, here they are, scored, this is why they scored what they did, and this is who we think is the best, based on what you taught the software to look for. Right? Since we won the Accelerator last year, we've gone through a cycle. This is a highly cyclical industry. And we're very pleased with that traction, which hopefully we were hoping for, right? It's a big problem. Right? But we're now actually being used by programs in more than 60 institutions, more than 150 residency programs. In fact, we analyzed about 53,000 applications last year, which represents about 2/3, 4 months of the last year represents about 2/3 of everyone who applied to medical training in the United States last year. Right? We also closed our first seed funding round. We raised about $1.1 million, right, to push our runway through next year. And we project our revenue by the end of this year to be between $500,000 and $600,000. Right? As ever, right, B2B AI SaaS is the magical pixie dust you can sprinkle on everything to increase your valuation. Right, we achieved more than 100 program accounts in this last year, and we forecast reaching about 300 by the end of this cycle. Oh, for some upside, we're actually about 150 now. But as ever, what has become increasingly clear is that this is not an isolated problem. Does anyone here either applied to college recently or has helped their kids apply to college? How would you describe that experience? Right, this general problem of information overload, right, of evaluating from many choices, right? Anyone here is trying to hire lately, right? If you open up an online job posting, you will receive 1,000 applications in a matter of days, and at some level it's your job to dig through them, right? Even though you might know already what you're looking for. We've begun expanding out into medical school admissions, and in fact we've signed all of the initial scoping paperwork for the medical school, right, IT, further authorizations to allow that scope to begin, and we're hoping that that contract will be signed by the end of this year or next year. Right? Our final strategy that we've been pivoting to this year as well is an interesting implication has arisen from this business model. Right? We fundamentally do admissions, right, which is to say, we help people who receive applications define exactly what it is that they're looking for and find the people who meet those criteria in their applicant pool. Right? That means, though, we know exactly what they're looking for in an applicant. That means, right, for the 50,000 people who apply to medical training every year, for the 60,000 people who apply to medical school every year, right, for the over 1 million people who apply to undergraduate every year, right, they spend thousands on that process, partially because they don't really know where they are the best fit for or are the most competitive. And so you can actually flip this entire business model around, right? If an applicant provides us their application, we can tell them, right, how likely are they to get an interview? Where exactly are you competitive? Where should you apply? Right? And this is an area that we're working to build into as our market share in the markets where we have that B2B product continues to increase. A couple of fun quotes from our users. I always like these. My favorite, any program director who doesn't use this is an idiot. Right? Thank you so much, everyone. That's our update.
Thank you, Alex. So our next presenter is Nikhil Illa from Pocket Scribe. He was also part of the Pennovation Accelerator last year and won Best Pitch.
Hey everyone, good to see you all. First of all, I want to say congratulations to this year's cohorts. Congrats to Christy, Jamie, and the rest of the staff at Pennovation for putting together another amazing year. Excited to be here and give you guys some updates about Pocket Scribe, where we were last year and where we are today. I did want to say though, it's funny, you heard about the massive problem that medical students face with Alex. Now you're going to hear about a massive problem that medical residents face as physicians. If there's one thing you take away from this, it's medical training and medicine is just broken. I want to introduce our team. So I'm a resident physician in emergency medicine at Penn Medicine. I'm also the founder and CEO. We have a clinical trials expert, chief research officer. Pat is our CTO. Some amazing advisors that we've onboarded recently who are respectively go-to-market experts and practicing physicians and medical directors. We built PocketScribe to address the massive problem, which is the burden of medical documentation for physicians. Our platform makes that process faster and easier, and we hope to bring this platform to all clinicians. And so part of our go-to-market strategy was to sell directly to clinicians and then sell up-market from there. And we have exciting traction. We launched a couple weeks ago, and we're getting ready to kick off a pilot at the University of Tennessee, which is very exciting. Briefly on the problem, something I think we face every day on shift. We spend a tremendous amount of time documenting after we see patients, frequently having to stay several hours after our shift to finish up our notes, leading to burnout amongst physicians. It's by far the worst part of our jobs, and also definitely adding to long ER wait times. To the demo works. Our platform allows for a clinician to dictate their note portably and naturally, and then use AI to organize the note into the relevant sections that we need to fill out, making that process much faster and easier. As you'll see on the screen, very easy for a clinician to open up our app and then just start dictating all of the salient elements we need to add to our medical notes. You can do that all in one go, and then we'll kind of fast forward through the rest of the dictation here, and you'll see that AI takes that transcript and then organizes it into all of the pieces that we need. So once we hit the submit button, we go to view our note, and you saw a raw transcript. You're going to see now everything organized into the relevant sections. What that really allows us to do is make note writing portable and make it much more natural. Our hallmark feature, however, and our first to market offering is that we help clinicians with their reimbursement too. Due to a massive billing change in 23, the way that reimbursement companies, so that's insurance agencies, billing and collections companies, look at our notes has changed. And now they specifically look at the quality of our notes to determine how much money we get paid for that patient visit. And with Scribe Max, we allow clinicians to really, not just include all the notes, all the elements we need for our notes, but also understand deficiencies and improve that note to hopefully qualify for a higher level of reimbursement. And our results speak for themselves. With our pilot users, we found that our users were getting their notes done faster, they were able to see more patients, and these numbers on the bottom are calculations still, are able to make more money from each patient visit. And we're excited to be publishing a white paper soon on the actual results of Scribe Max, which is our reimbursement platform. Some additional testimonials here from some of our early pilot users, really showing that tremendous need for this solution and also the impact that it's having on our users. In terms of where we started and where we are today, last year we had a proof of concept, a very rudimentary website that we tested with over a dozen ER clinicians, took that amazing feedback, built our ground up MVP, and again, we launched a couple weeks ago. Very excited to be working with the University of Tennessee on our pilot. And then we hope to expand. We are really excited for what the future holds. What you see here in the blue is all we've done, but we are so excited to really build an ecosystem out of our platform. And so part of what we've done so far is finish up our MVP, integrate with Epic, which is the leading EHR solution in the United States. But we want to go into pre-visit summaries, we want to go into after-visit summaries, clinical decision support, and we're excited for the future. And so thank you again for this opportunity to be back here. I wanted to say that this platform, Pennovation, really was so tremendous in helping us launch our venture, and so it's nice to be back. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. If you're interested in learning more or you want to support our venture, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex and Nikhil. It's so nice to see you back and hear about your updates. Bear with me.
they've worked so hard over the last 6 weeks, and we've seen them grow and improve upon their pitches and their business models, and also grow together and create a very nice relationship amongst themselves that is so heartwarming to see. Before I announce the the winners, I just want to review with all of you what goes into this criteria-wise. So for us, we have 2 prizes, a overall pitch winner. That pitch is scored by the judges, so the winner is solely on their pitch today. The overall winner is comprised of engagement throughout the program, growth, engagement, and the pitch score itself. And so I am very excited to announce our winner for Best Pitch goes to Revise Robotics.
I have the fun surprise announcement in the midst of winning, announcing our winners, I should say. We were really excited to have our first ever 2 nonprofits participate in the Accelerator this year. And that was really important and impactful to the leadership at Pennovation as well as to the judges today. And as a result, we have created a brand new, on-the-spot prize and award for social enterprise. And this year's social enterprise winner will receive $500 towards their seed money, and that goes to Camo Care.
Okay, and now our final announcement, our final prize winner, the overall Pennovation Accelerator winner for 2024 is Sahay AI. That wraps up our official programming. We thank you all again. Thank you to our mentors, our speakers, and everyone who came out to support our cohort today. Come back soon.